Please go ahead, sir. We are live now.
Thank you, Anup. Hi, very good afternoon. This is Nahid Alam from ASSOCHAM. I am heading manufacturing department in ASSOCHAM and also heading few more portfolio. Let me extend formal welcome address uh, on behalf of ASSOCHAM. I would like to welcome all the panelists and also all the participants for joining us in this important occasion. As we all know that food processing is one of the important sectors which contributes significantly in terms of economic contribution as well as contributing to the exports. As per the data, tentatively around 32% food markets where the food processing products, and also 13% of exports are actually going from these sectors only. And in terms of investment, this is one of the rising sectors where government has also identified their potential, and also government is working on to identify the different commodities within that food processing domain where the government can push the policy action plan. Uh, by this is taking into account that PLI scheme is very important in terms of getting investment into the particular sectors, which is not only good for this particular sector development of these sectors, and also it is contributing significantly towards the agriculture transformations. With these words, I would like to. Can you hear me? Yeah. Now I would like formally introducing the have very experienced panelist with us who is a technical person in this domain, and also few industry speakers who will share their experience within that how the PLI has helped them or how it is going to contribute towards the particular sector. We have today with Dinesh Kanbarji. He is CEO of Dhruva Advisor, and he is having a very vast experience in this areas, consultancy service areas and taxes and all. And he would be going to sharing with us very important insights on PLI schemes as well as in food processing sectors. Today we have Dr. Mr. JP Dongreji from Ministry of Food Processing and Industry. He is heading that marketing department in ministry. Also, we have Dr. Vaibhav Kulkarni ji. He is a global chair in International Life Science Institute Board Assembly, and also he is Secretary General and Board member of HADSA. We have Dr. Pramod Haldeji. He is a Regulatory Affairs in Marico. We have Shubham Nigamji, is the founder and CEO of Griffith Food Private Limited. We have Mr. Ritesh Kondiaji. He is a partner with Dhruva Advisor, and he is also moderating the whole sessions. Once I close my talk, and Dineshji. We have Kulraj with us. He is a principal at Dhruva Advisors. Now, let me give you some one small brief introduction of Mr. Dinesh sir. He is a partner. He is a CEO and founder of Dhruva Advisor. He has decades of experience. He has been recognized his peer organizations as amongst top tax advisor in India. Prior to Dhruva Advisors, he held a series of leadership positions across several large professional services organizations in India. He has worked with the government on several policy committees, including tax reforms. He is a member of Rangachari Committee, which dealt with reforms in IT, ITES sectors, evolve safe harbor rules. He is currently also serving a public interest director at National Stock Exchange. With these words, I request Dinesh ji to take over and share his remarks to the participants. And thank you so much, sir. Dinesh ji, over to you, sir. You have to unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Nahid, for this introduction, and a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this webinar hosted by SOCHM and by Dhruva Advisors. We are dealing with a subject which is very, very important, because one of the backbones of the many initiatives which has been taken by the current government is really the phase manufacturing program, under which the government would like to ensure that the domestic framework for manufacture increases very, very significantly. And a number of initiatives have been taken in this regard. While the PMP was introduced in 2016-17, the PLI scheme started in 2020. And as we saw that the first PLI scheme, when it was laid out for the electronic sector, it got a raving response, and that was not surprising at all. It's something which people are looking forward to as being a direct cash benefit transfer available, and a benefit which the government can provide without violating any WTO norms, etc. The government has come back to now with 11 sectors into which PLI is to be made applicable, and the total outlay is a staggering 1,97,000 crores of rupees, which just shows the commitment of the government. We are looking at India emerging as a China +1 supplier to global market, and therefore PLI forms the backbone of what the government intends to do. If the government estimates turn out to be right, it is expected that the additional manufacture of goods over the next 5 years is going to be to the order of $500 billion, which is saying tremendous lot. When the government has introduced PLI, it has come back to say that within certain schemes, there is something which is reserved for MSME sector. As for example, we'll talk today about the food processing sector, where a segment has been carved out for MSME. And in certain other sectors, the government is going to come out with a PLI specifically directed to MSMEs. So really the government wants to give a thrust and an impetus to growth, and PLI is one of those backbone initiatives which is being taken up by the government. As my colleagues Ritesh and Kulraj lay down the scheme for PLI on the food processing sector, I think I would just like to put a few things in perspective. First is that the outlay which has been proposed by the government is of the magnitude of almost 11,000 crores, 10,900 crores, which is something which is quite significant. Food processing is something which is very critical to the growth. It's as Najid explained, something which is export oriented. It very much supports the agri sector. And this is not the only thing which the government has done on the food sector. There are a number of things which have happened, including standardization, including setting up of dedicated parks, etc. And I'm very confident that PLI will be that one more armory which the government will have to support the food manufacturing sector. It is very important that A, we understand the scheme, understand the eligibility under the scheme, the nuances of the scheme. B, the application is drawn up appropriately and submitted to the government in good time. And C, maybe if there is a representation to be done, either in the context of any modification to the scheme, etc., it is done sufficiently in advance so that the government can sort of consider the representations that are made. We have representatives of government today already with us, and I'm sure that if there are any comments which come about, they will be willing to hear and consider those comments. So with that brief introductory remark, if I can invite my colleague Ritesh now to come in, and thereafter Ritesh and Kulraj to present to us the PLI scheme on food processing activity. Over to you, Ritesh.
Thank you, Dinesh. So, as Dinesh mentioned, the PLI scheme has been introduced to create global manufacturing champions and promote brand India. This is also in line with the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the Made in India vision of the government. Now, as it happens with every incentive scheme, there are criteria to be satisfied, and then there are many open questions around this criteria. For example, the turnover threshold, the investments to be made. So, for example, is it too high considering the pandemic situation? Brand India, what does brand India mean, etc. To discuss all of this and to shed some light on the provisions, as also to understand the government and the industry perspective, we have a very eminent panel with us comprising of government and industry representatives. Let me first start by introducing the panel members of today. So we have Mr. J.P. Dongre. Mr. J.P. Dongre joined government service in 1999 and started working for the quality control of meat and meat products, inspection of meat processing plants, etc. From 2005 to 2012, he has been involved in various policy initiatives relating to the food industry, and has also been in charge of various secretariats. From April 2012 onwards, he has been working with the Ministry of Food Processing and Industries, Government of India, and dealing with the scheme of HRD, TUS scheme, Mega Food Park scheme, International Cooperation, and now is actively engaged on the PLI scheme for FPI. Welcome, Mr. Dongre, on the call. On the industry side, we have Mr. Dr. Pramod Halde. He is the head regulatory affairs, Marico. Dr. Pramod Halde, is involved both in the domestic as well as the international business. He has more than 21 years of industrial experience in the area of quality and food safety. In the past, he's worked for Coca-Cola and ACC Limited. He's the lead auditor for ISO 9001, 14001, OSAS 18001, ISO 22000. He's also been a president of AFST Mumbai Technical Committee.
I think it is enough, sir. I think there are many our other members. I think introduction is enough for that. Thank you for.
Sure. I'll just quickly, say two lines about, just introduce Mr. Kulkarni and Mr. Nigam, and we can move on. Mr. Kulkarni is Director Regulatory Affairs about Nutrition International and is a part of the senior leadership team. Mr. Shubha Nigam, founder, is the CEO of Gruffed Foods. And I have with me my colleague Kulraj, who is part of the Dhruva Indirect Tax team, more than 13 years of experience. Let me first hand over to my colleague Kulraj to very quickly take us through the provisions of the scheme. Over to you, Kulraj, if you can just share the screen and quickly run through the provisions of the scheme, and then we'll move on to the panelist for question and answer session.
Certainly, Ritesh. Thank you for the introduction. Is my screen up there visible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. So to just give power to the words spoken by my colleagues earlier, the PLI scheme for food processing has been a landmark scheme till date. The scheme, unlike other schemes, covers the entire food processing sector. It provides benefit to large enterprises. It covers small and medium enterprises. And moreover, it gives benefit to one very specific thing, which is the activity done by these enterprises towards branding and promotion. Not something which has been there till date in any of the PLI schemes. So to that extent, it forms a complete code for itself, and for sure will lay a great platform for the food processing industry to go forward. In this very presentation, we'll be discussing about the scheme. We'll just give an overview of the schemes. There are certain categories which needs to be fulfilled, wherein the applicants do fall, and what are the eligibility and incentives they get. We'll discuss about the scheme outlay, and lastly, we'll give about the recommendations of the course of action that needs to be adopted. So food processing scheme per se grants benefit to three categories of applicants. One is the large food processing industries, which will include your ready to eat, ready to cook, marine products, processed foods and vegetables, mozzarella cheese. Second benefit is granted to all your SMEs, which are engaged in manufacturing of organic or innovative products in these four food types of categories, and also includes free range eggs, poultry meats, egg products, etc. Third and very interesting benefit with the scheme offers is towards entities who are Indian brands and who incur branding and marketing promotion expenses outside India. The incentive under the PLI is granted at the range of 4 to 10% on the incremental sales that is achieved by the applicants. What is most important is that the incentives under the PLI is over and above every other incentive or a benefit that a taxpayer or that a unit draws, be it your benefits under industrial policy, be it your export rebates, refunds, GST incentive, etc. So it's an over and above everything that a unit gets. The scheme runs for a period of 6 years, starts from 2021, ends till to 2026-27, with a total outlay of 10,900 crores. Normally, all the PLI schemes have a window of making investment, and that is the true with this PLI scheme as well. Food processing PLI schemes provide for an investment outlay to be made in next 2 years, which is 2021, 2022, 2023. What is most important is that the scheme also provides that if a unit has made an investment in the past year, which is 2021, that shall also be granted. So there's an investment window of 3 years to be fulfilled. The entire scheme works on a ranking-based system. So applicant files the application. There are categories to which the application is to be filed. There is for each category a system which ranks will be allocated. So we'll have marking systems on that. So each of the PLI approval schemes under each of these categories will be completely based on ranking-based system. With this overall, we'll go to each categories and analyze what is this category contains for. Category 1, which covers the large manufacturing entities in the food processing sector. Typically, this benefit is granted to entities which are engaged in manufacture of food products in target segment, which are specified as 4 target segments, which is ready to eat, ready to cook, processed food and vegetables, marine products, and mozzarella cheese. For a unit to be eligible under this scheme should have a minimum turnover, and that minimum turnover has to be there in the base year, which is 1920. For ready to eat, ready to cook category, it is 500 crore. For processed food and vegetables, it is 250 crores. For marine product, it has been fixed at 600 crore, and for mozzarella cheese, it's 150 crores. Important to note that for this minimum sales turnover, an applicant can have the turnover of all the food products that are sold by him in consumer pack, not necessarily be in only 4 segment. So while the 4 segment provides for eligibility, your minimum sales turnover can be in any segment, provided those goods are sold in consumer packs. What is most interesting part of the scheme is that scheme not only provides an applicant turnover to be counted, but if the applicant has subsidiaries also engage in food processing business. So the turnover of subsidiaries shall also be counted, and the applicant shall be considered as one applicant only. Subsidiaries derive the same meaning as there is in Companies Act. Another important criteria is that each of the applicants should commit to making a minimum investment. As we had discussed in earlier slide, the investment criteria is 100 crore for ready to eat, ready to cook category. For processed food and vegetable, it is 50 crores. For marine product, it is 75 crore, and for mozzarella cheese, it is 23 crores for a 10 metric ton per day plant. Now, investment assumes a significant importance that how it is to be made, how and when it's to be made. So all the investments made in greenfield, brownfield projects, so if you acquire anything, construct from the basic or do an expansion, both are covered. Most important is that expansion has to be done in, or investment has to be done in new plant and machinery. So second-hand plant and machinery, old assets will not be constituted. If a construction is done is building, which is housed, under which the plant and machinery are housed, that construction building shall also be counted towards the investment criteria. And then if you make any associated infrastructure, let's say the construction is of roads, pipelines, etc., will also be counted, subject to an upper cap of 20%. Investment in land, office building, any recreational facilities made in the unit shall not be counted. What is most satisfying fact is that if you have contract manufacturers and if you have installed plant and machinery in that contract manufacturer's location, or if that contract manufacturer does an investment in plant and machinery, those investments shall also be counted. However, subject to the fact that the 100% of the output of that contract manufacturer should go to the applicant. As a closing window, all the investments have to be completed and plant has to commission by March 31st, 2023. That's the eligibility criteria. The last eligibility criteria that is provided for category 1 is that the entire manufacturing process has to take place in India. So it cannot be only packaging, repackaging, labeling or relabeling that has to be done. Even the primary processing has to be done in the country itself. Once a unit is eligible, the incentive is towards the incremental sale only of the target product segments. So while the minimum sale turnover threshold was all food products, but the incentive will be given only on incremental sales of the products which are in target segment, which is the 4 segments that you have. The rate of incentive under which the benefit shall be given is, as we mentioned, for 4 to 10%. But yes, under most of the categories, it is around 10% for the initial 4 years for ready to eat, ready to cook category. Processed food and vegetable category also provides 10% for the initial 4 years. Marine products has a benefit of lower, but yes, if they are value-added marine products, the benefit is 10% for the entire period of 6 years. Mozzarella cheese again has a benefit of 10%, ranging down to 4% in the last year. The base year for computation of all these benefits has to be 1920 for the first 4 years, And for fifth and sixth year, the base year for computation of incremental sales changes to 2021 and 2022-23 respectively. What is again very important, the scheme provides that any unit which is applying, which has an incremental sale, should also achieve a CAGR, which is compounded annual growth rate, ranging between 5 to 15% depending upon all the segments. So the scheme provides a good outlay of incentive, but yes, the unit has to have an incremental sale and has to have an incremental sales overall on a CAGR basis. What is now critical is that need to see how many products and what kind of product segments are there. So in this category fund, you have product segments comprising of ready meals, your namkeen, bhujia, mixtures, ice creams are there, yogurt, flavored milk, food processing, food mixes containing millet, etc. will be there. While there are a lot of products that are included, there are exclusions to it also, which include your all agricultural products like rice, atta, pulses, they are not there. Pizza, pasta, noodles, they are excluded. Soft drinks are not covered. Breakfast and confectionery items are not covered, and breads are not covered. Likewise, for the category of processed foods and vegetables, there are several aspects that are covered, which includes your processed foods, all kinds of processed, preserved, and dried foods and vegetables, jams, fruit juices, tomato ketchups, packaged sauces, flavored waters are covered. There are certain list of exclusion also, like fresh foods and vegetables are not covered in the processed foods and vegetable category. Potato chips are not covered. Your unprocessed herbs and spices are not covered, while processed herbs and spices do get covered, unprocessed will not. All your aerated waters, lemonade get excluded. Marine products, several of marine products, fish, mollusks get included. Your value-added shrimps and squid products get included. On the mozzarella cheese side, all the mozzarella cheese, whether you do in a bulk packing or a consumer packing, gets included. But that's the only cheese category that gets included. All other cheese categories gets excluded. So that's a broad framework of category one, which provides for a host of incentive for the sector. And there are lots of products that gets covered also. Category two, which is unlike category one, is for the SME sectors. But yes, that is important that SMEs should be engaged in manufacture of organic and innovative products. Unlike category one, there is a very thin minimum turnover requirement, that is 1 crore for each of the sectors in which the applicant proposed to filing the application. Product category largely remains same as category one only. So what is ineligible under the first category, any organic or innovative product in those ineligible segment will get eligible in category two as well. Critical to know that innovative as a concept has not been defined, so it shall be open to interpretation what shall an innovative segment would mean in SME category. There is no condition to make investment. So if you start afresh or you don't make any investment, you just do the processing activity, you get covered. There's only a requirement that the application should have an Udyog Aadhaar and should be registered under APIDA for our organic products. The incentive, as like category one, is based upon the incremental sales that you achieve for the base year. The mechanism of computation of incentive, the rate, and the CAGR requirement remain the same as of category one. So nothing changes, just that it's slightly more relaxed and a lot more relaxed as category one is concerned. Category three, which is most important and has been getting a lot of interesting insight from the industry, is the benefit that is provided towards marketing and branding by Indian brands abroad. Such benefit is allowed on all the food products that are sold outside India. But yes, an important condition that food products must be completely manufactured in India. Your expenses include your in-store branding, shelf spacing, listing fees, advertisement, commercial advertisement on channels, outdoor publicity, billboards, etc. The expenses could be incurred by the applicant directly, could also be included by a subsidiary or by an agency, which is very important as a fact. All your trade discounts, expenditure on distribution and overseas logistics does not get included, so no benefit on that expense. Now, this is critical part. In this scheme, government grants an incentive of 50% of the expenditure that is incurred, which is an upper cap of 50 crore or 3% of sale of food product. Again, a significant chunk which government wants to incentivize industry. Though there is a minimum threshold that the government wants each applicant to cover, which is 5 crores of at least assured expense in this segment that an applicant should be done. If that is done, the incentive is 2.5 crores split over the 5-year period. So with this, we look into the broad outlay about the scheme. and the budget outlays. As we mentioned, the total outlay is 10,900 crores in the entire scheme. Ready-to-eat, ready-to-cook categories has a significant outlay of 4,100 crores, followed by processed food and vegetables. And then branding and marketing abroad gets a significant share of 1,500 crores. Total benefit amounting to 10,900. What is important is that government has fixed up slabs that each applicant will at least get 5% and at most get 25%, at least in 3 categories, which we talk about: ready-to-eat, marine product, and mozzarella cheese. So therefore, government would want only large or limited players to be applicable under the scheme. This, however, does not hold true in processed foods and vegetables, where there is no minimum cap. In branding, promotion, and organic innovative, there is no upper cap or lower cap. So therefore, a lot of taxpayers, a lot of applicants can get into these schemes. But yes, for the 3 categories, there are limited applicants that can apply and can get benefit. Lastly, given all these scheme nuances, what does our recommended action is for the food processing industry is that you look into your portfolio. There is a huge range of products that are there that the government offers to be getting incentivized. See if your product gets covered under the scheme or not. If there are plans for making investment and there is a possibility of an increasing sales pattern, we would suggest that the application of the scheme be readily made, because the benefits are huge and the benefits are real. If there are areas or concerns, then the ministry is very approachable. A representation can be made to the ministry and a relief can be sought if needed. As we had mentioned, that contract manufacturing gets included in the investment. So if structuring has to be done around contract manufacturing, it can for surely be done. If a unit does not have the entire manufacturing capabilities, want to outsource it to a contract manufacturing, then the scheme offers a real incentive to all those applicants as well. What is lastly, in our view, is most important is that while the scheme grants benefit to anything which is over and above there already in the scheme, any applicant which is planning to set up a unit needs to also see the criteria of state incentive, because that assumes a lot more relevance. So while a lot of states grants heavy incentives to food processing industry setting up in that state. So all those factors can also be considered while setting up a unit besides PLI. Lastly, the date of submission of application under the scheme stands at 17th of June. So a lot of quick action is needed on the industry parts. On this recommended action needs to be taken on a very, very quick basis. With that, I'll end up my quick presentation. I'll hand over the further baton to Pritesh to take this session forward.
Thank you. Kulraj, you can discontinue the screen sharing.
Surely. Just give me a second.
Thank you, Kulraj. So now we will move on to the panel discussion. So without any further ado, will straight away move to our first panelist, Mr. Dongre. Mr. Dongre, you have been involved in the scheme since its inception, and we wanted to understand what is the government's take on the scheme and how has been the industry response to it. I have also been seeing questions around the fact that whether why the scheme is only applicable to players who are already established and already set with the turnover criteria, and why is it not applicable to new participants? Mr. Dongre, what would be your take on this?
Well, I would like to say, first of all, Niti Aayog has given us the mandate that we'll have to have a scheme which should basic idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan for enhancing the Indian manufacturing capabilities and enhancing the export. Keeping in view these 2 major aspects, Ministry has, Niti Aayog has given us the mandate to formulate the scheme for that one. So we have done number of industry consultation, number of industry stakeholders. We consulted them and we formulated this particular scheme. What basically we require, or basic objective of this scheme is to create a global manufacturing champion. And the capability of global manufacturing champion is with these big players only. So to get our footprints, Indian food business market footprints in the global arena. So we thought that this scheme should be formalized in such a way that big players should play a vital role in this one, as well as small industry players, SMEs also has to be given the due share of this particular scheme. So we kept innovative project and on organic product for that particular segment, and marketing and branding of product abroad. That aspect we kept for all the industry players, right from large and medium and small also.
And Mr. Dongre, how have you been seeing the response on the scheme until now? Now you would have received applications.
Well, we have received around 436 registration as of now. Around 38 people, they already sent their application, already submitted their applications, and many of I think 120 companies, they are in the process of submitting their applications.
Wow, that's great. Let us now have an industry perspective. So moving on, the follow-on question to Dr. Weber and then Dr. Prabodh. From an industry perspective, you have been there in the food processing sector for quite long. You've witnessed similar issues in the past. In this context and what Dr. Dongre said and what my colleague Kulraj has shared, how would you sort of comment? What is your viewpoint on the scheme, and do you think anything better could have been done on the scheme? So first, Mr. Weber, if you can share your thoughts, and then Dr. Prabodh.
Yeah, so I was just listening to Dr. Dongre, Ritesh, and I think when I look at the industry perspective, I see the scheme is not merely doling out subsidies or tax holidays. The scheme has a broader objective, I see. It has identified certain growth sectors in foods and also aims to support the companies under the scheme to grow and establish international brands internationally as well. Therefore, it has a stipulated minimum investment criteria that you must have seen in the earlier presentation. The proposal that Dr. Dongre was talking about definitely would be weighted by concerned ministry with the aid of independent body like PMA, that is Project Management Agency, as I see it, which may be composed of definitely experts in the concerned field area. This scheme also envisages support in terms of establishing the brand as a global brand, because there are a lot of global players. You have seen global players having their footmark all over the place, say US companies or companies from Europe, marketing the same products in more than 150, 116 countries. But for India, it is very limited at this point in time. There are a couple of companies who would really go out, but this impetus is very important to take our brands to the global platform and make it a little bit visibility. It's called visibility with a little bit of a push from the government. And this, I will say, will also initiate, with this push, it will also initiate product development and establish systems to meet the world standards. Because then once you raise the bar and you go at that platform of branding, then you will be competing with the la cream de cream people. The scheme stipulates periodic audits, which is very important, of the beneficiaries to follow its progress. It's not usual scheme as I see, where you say you loan the money and then forget it, and forget the scheme. It's kind of a big thought over kind of a stuff. And I think government, by doing this, when I read the guidelines, looks very focused in making this as a success with a follow through. Thanks, Ritesh.
Absolutely, Mr. Dr. Prabodh, your take on the scheme.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Mr. Ritesh?
Yeah.
First, I would like to thanks to organizer for inviting me. I would like to thanks to Ministry of Food Processing Industries and Dr. Jitendra Dongre for giving his thought. And the opening presentation by the association was fantastic. It was so crisp. Let me congratulate you. Actually, it has laid down and given the entire perspective about the scheme. I have 3 points to make. Sir, we are in the COVID time. March 20, this COVID started and the first lockdown has started. In spite of the COVID, but food processing industry is actually working and it's supplying all the essential requirement for the consumer and customers. And if you see, the only 2 sectors which are on with the pharma sector and one is the food processing sector. Food processing per se, the industry has so much of pressure on it because farmers' produce needs to be actually processed by the food processing industry. If you consider this scheme versus vis-a-vis other schemes, what has came so far, this scheme is a long-term scheme. This is not a one-of-the-year scheme. And the total investment which has to be made for previous year, this year, and next year for phase, actually the part 1, which is for the ready to eat and ready to cook, and this category for 100 crore. That category, if you see the total investment which has to be happened in India over the 2 years, and previous year is also to be considered. Sir, there is a logic which says that if 1 crore investment happens in food processing, agro processing, you generate 10 employment. That is the thumb rule. Indian kind of scenario where youth are actually, the average age is below 35, and so many skilled manpower are available. I think Atmanirbhar Bharat, this scheme is absolutely apt scheme, because the more investment which will happen in the manufacturing hub, whether it is happening through the company or it is happening through the third party, because in this scheme the third party is also included, subject the principal company is buying out that product completely from them. So you are indirectly generating 1:10 ratio of employment in that particular sector. This is a very well thought scheme. Dr. Jitendra Dongre has invited us many times for actually debating and discussing on this scheme. So it has came out very, very thoughtful scheme. And I congratulate ASSOCHAM also, because they are partnering to this development of the scheme. Again, this scheme is little different from the earlier schemes because they are not directly linked with the primary product. Here, the processing aspect has covered. So it is not only about the primary product, here the secondary product and the processing aspect has come. So I see that India will become the hub of manufacturing. With the art of technology and the equipment, tomorrow, the China's actually downfall of the export, because if you see the China's export is 96,000 crore of previous year for the food processing. And this particular category, which we have given in the part 1 of the scheme, those are the categories which are actually dominated by China in the international market. So those categories, India will become a hub for export. So I think this is a very well thought scheme. All the stakeholders are getting actually compensated and getting participated. And after COVID, we have to work together. In previous to the COVID, people were very self-centered, but now after COVID, we have to work together. Government, association, research organization, industry, we have to come together. So I see this is very unique. And what most I like about this scheme, apart from the company like us, we will apply in the category 1 and category 3. I like about this scheme is about category 2. Because our vendors, those who are our supplier to us, they can take a benefit of it. So we are going to pursue that all our vendors, if they're doing any innovation in their product, SMEs, we will actually we have already started. They should apply for them and let them grow. It is not about this particular scheme to say that we are applying as a big company. I think it is our duty to influence, to motivate, to help the vendors, the SMEs to apply and come close to the actually the progress. And part 3 is also very good because of the COVID time. Already on the marketing and the PR, the total budget has gone. I think this will help Indian brand India to prosper and to grow. So overall, I congratulate and I have a lot of positive hopes for this. There are a few points as a suggestion, because any schemes there will be if and buts. Like, I think we should see the overall structure rather than putting it absolutely the watertight compartment that 500 crore is a 500 crore. I think intent is to be looked rather than the numbers, because if applicant is coming, we should able to help. And so I see this is a difference about earlier scheme to this scheme. So I congratulate and I welcome this scheme. Thank you, Ritesh.
Dr. Pramod, very interesting thoughts on involving the vendors in the scheme and sort of passing on the benefit to the vendor. But a parallel dichotomy is, new players who have sort of not been given this benefit. And to this end, I would invite comments from Mr. Shubham Given the fact that food processing industry is not a very capital intensive industry, we have pandemic and there is an uncertainty around growth in pandemic. Do you see the qualification criteria, which is 100 crore for IT, RTC, and 50 crore for processed fruits and vegetables, and the turnover threshold are reasonable and possible to achieve? And in fact, there is a parallel question to say that, since PLI scheme is aimed at increasing exports and footprint in global canvas, is it not important to bring new investors and make them qualified to be a part of the scheme? Mr. Shom, what is your thoughts on this? Mr. Shom, you're on mute. You're on mute. No, you're not audible. You're still on mute. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Radesh. Thanks for having me, and my greetings to all panelists. As far as the scheme is concerned, right, you all know that there are too many limiting factors in the scheme, including the range of applicable product categories, which you have already mentioned, and it's too narrow, right? And investment threshold is also too high, at least for small and medium enterprises. If you look at the investment criteria and sales turnover, majority of the MSMEs are out of the scheme altogether. And the fact that last year government itself redefined the small and medium enterprises from 5 and 50 crores to 15 to 50 crores of sales turnover. If you look at the pandemic, the disrupting impact on the micro, small, and medium is much more significant because they are heavily dependent on backward and forward supply chains, which had become too erratic and too cost efficient. The industry from which I come from, 3 months, 4 months, there was no supply of our raw materials in the market, right? And there was the demands were shooting up, right? And due to which the costs also jumped 3x to 4x. So which in turn, makes us cost inefficient as compared to a larger peers in the market, right? So large organizations can absorb these pressures in short to medium terms because of the fat balance sheets, which in most cases is cash flow positive. Dr. Halde mentioned one very important thing, that it's a long-term scheme, but the pandemic will have much more disrupting impact in the short term on the small and medium enterprises. I believe that PLI scheme should have factored in that short to medium term impact on MSMEs and made provisions to make them more resilient, because at the end of the day, if you're going to survive in the short term, medium term, then only will be able to compete in the long term. Yeah.
Dr. Dongre, do you want to give your take on this comment by Shubham, that it should have factored in, it would have been more flexible and it would have factored in smaller players? You did mention that the idea was to create a brand India outside and you need larger players. But, India has been putting a lot of focus on MSMEs, and why MSMEs have been left out of the scheme? What is?
Yes, see what happens. Why not ignored MSMEs and all? See, this PLI scheme, what we have already formulated, altogether having the different objective. We have another scheme that is called Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. In that, we are already supporting a lot of 100 crore under that scheme also. Coming days, most probably another 2 months, we'll get the expression of interest for that one. So, for micro enterprises also, we have this crore under scheme also. So we have now categorized our schemes also, all kind of stakeholders listed on them. See, in this particular theme, we want to tap the opportunities in global market, and that capability is only having all those players who are already in the field since last 5-10 years. They are in this field. They have know all those ideas. What is the global market? What is the how to run, how to all those things. That skip and one thing, whatever we are devised based on the consultation we are devised. If you say that what are the threshold return and we decided all those things, that we have studied all, we have consulted all the industries, we have taken the monitor And we saw that in segment wise, like RT, RTC segment, how many companies are there? Like RTC, there are companies having 12,000 crore turnover year, 633 year, 600 crore rupees of turnover. So there is a range from 12,000 crore.
Dr.
So that's
Dr.
why
we are
500 ready to products. Yeah.
sorry, Dr. Dongre, we were getting some breakage in between. We
Your
were
voice
getting some breakage in
is
between.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are sorry.
Hello. Now I can.
Everybody else is able to hear me. Yeah.
Mr. Dongre's voice has been breaking a bit in between.
Now,
Yeah.
is it clear now?
Yeah, it is clear now.
Am I clear now?
Yeah, you're
Am I
clear now. You're
audible?
clear now.
Yeah. Likewise, in the fruits and also we yeah. So whatever the threshold limits we kept for notes and all based on studies, and we got all numbers with us, and based on that only we kept all these threshold limits. That's what I
Sure.
want to clarify on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dongre. One interesting issue which is coming up is while there is a threshold and there is a turnover criteria. So let us take a situation where there is a turnover requirement for 1920, and the company has actually achieved that turnover fully in 2021. And there is a rationale to say that 2021 should not be considered, it is pandemic, but many food processing companies have actually done quite well in 2021. Is there any kind of a thought process on flexibility that if you would have not achieved it in 1920, we could actually understand and take 2021, considering that you are there? It's just about some difference in the turnover. Is there a flexibility that is being thought of, or is it like completely rigid to say no, 1920 mean 1920?
No, not like that, because just one input from my side. We already earlier we were planning to keep 2021 also as a base year, but a lot of people they said, sir, that was a pandemic year, so you keep the previous year where we fairly done our all businesses in proper manner. So we kept that 1920 as a base year for calculating all those things. And if we received some of the representation on that one, let us see if more representation will be there. So definitely ministry may think over it.
Shubham, your take on this? You were going to say something?
So yes, I mean, sales turnover, yes, the business has been doing great. The businesses across food and beverages, at least, right? They have been doing great because of the surge in demand, right? People being in home, and there's a surge in demand across the board for all the food and beverage categories, right? But along with that, the cost inefficiency has also increased because of the supply chain disruptions. Now, if I have to send any shipment from here to US or to UK, either by courier mode or by freight mode, right? Our costs have gone up by 3x, right? Which has impacted, because we operate in a global marketplace, right? So sales turnover might be a qualifying, criteria, but at the end of the day, it's all about, who corners the biggest share of the schemes, right? The big boys in the industry, the big players, right, who have better access to, get the job done, right? Smaller players, the reality is known to everybody, right? So the thing is, although the businesses have been great and the government has been supportive as well, right? Right from the word go, be it, getting the shipments cleared in our overseas market, we have been reaching out to our, embassy license, right? In extreme cases, right? And industry association in the US has also been very supportive, right? But at the end of the day, it's all about access to these benefits, right? MSMEs, they are more focused in, generating businesses, generating money out of their business, right? Because the moment they get into this, right, and by the time it materializes, it's too little and or too late, right? We have to fight a monthly war and a weekly war to for our survivability, right? If we have to compete with our big players in the market, right? So for us to for these schemes to manifest over a 5 to 6 years time frame would not be as much relevant for companies with 100 crores turnover or let's say 50 crores turnover, right? Because the people whom we are, competing with in the market, they have sales turnover of $5 billion or $10 billion, right? And they have better access to distribution, better access to sales and all of those things. So if you're talking about money, if you're talking about generating sales turnover businesses, right, then those are the areas which we need to, sort of focus on in the short term to medium term to make life of MSMEs easier who are operating in the global landscape. Because supply chain disruptions, they are, they're crazy. They're not, no one can manage it, right? If our shipments are stuck in for 1 or 2 months, right? Our buyers, they, start banging us for, for payments, for everything, right? Which in turn impacts our overall cash flow, things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely, Shubham. Dr. Prabodh, Vaibhav, you heard Shubham, and I'm sure turnover and investment is one thing, or supply chain disruption is one thing that you would not really be worried about. But everybody would want to hear your take on this, Dr. Prabodh, and then Mr. Vaibhav. What is your take on MSMEs and benefit to MSMEs?
I think, sir, Shubham sir has rightly said, and the intent of this scheme, what Dr. Jitendra Dongre, and let me tell you, sir, this scheme has not come out in one day from the ministry. There were consultations happened continuously. I remember that Dr. Dongre has sent this, actually has consulted and sent this in spite of the peak of the COVID in the first and the second phase of the COVID. There were consultations and all the participants were party. And again, as they have rightly said, changes can happen because the whole intent is to distribute, and this whatever is the budget has been made by the Niti Aayog, the whole intent. I think what we are trying to do here, whatever the suggestion, and I request actually Dr. Ritesh ji, outcome of this also we should submit as a submission to the Ministry of Food Processing, saying that intent has to be looked at. Because if, for example, the 500 crore turnover, tomorrow if the ministry sees that the proper applications are not there, definitely they are going to reduce this turnover, because their intent is not to keep the money and pass it to some other scheme. They have already declared that this money will be for the particular this scheme for the making the excellence in the ministry, particular the food processing. So I think we have a positive participation, and COVID year, non-COVID year, both year, 19 or 20, whatever. I think the turnover, it could be, my request personally is it should be the group turnover rather than the category turnover. Whatever is the group turnover of the food as a category, there should not be any exclusion criteria. Because today, when actually we talked about, for example, while applying the license, or when you say any, actually you apply your income tax returns of any of the company, what that particular company turnover comes from, the total turnover should be considered, or the GST, whatever is the you pay. So the turnover should be one turnover rather than the category turnover. Intent of putting a turnover, I remember when the first time the meeting happened with Shri Joshi Saab, this was also invited by Dr. Dongre sir. He said, turnover, we are looking for a serious player to come in. I think that is the intent. Serious players should come, those who are promising, and they will really invest the money. I think this 500 crore and 100 crore is the investment. I think 1:5. That is the right thinking actually. What actually this ratio looks like good, because if meri amdani 500 crore, mera turnover 500 crore, then only I can actually invest 100 crore, because small player will not able to do. And again, why 100 crore? Because India wants to generate those many jobs. But only on this 500 crore, I have small submission, suggestion to Dr. Dongre Saab. Consider the company size and consider the turnover of the overall company for the food sector, including everything as a food, what is defined. Rest, sir, for SMEs, there are Pantapradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, as Dr. Dongre sir has said, that actually Yojana has been actually in the different avatars so far. This is the third year of this Yojana. So already that sector has been covered. This scheme and the SMEs and the small manufacturers, we should not compare, because every scheme comes with the target audience, as in our marketing number. There is a target audience for it. So rather than unnecessary, I would not comment anything for the just sake of comment. I really welcome this scheme, and we would like to know how many beneficiaries and we should keep it so open on the transparent on the website of Ministry of Food Processing. These many companies have qualified the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and finally we should keep the track record of all the companies this they have invested, and this investment has actually have generated so many employment. I think this kind of number also should get displayed. So when the audit of the scheme will happen, it should be upfront on the website. So that kind of culture also should happen, and other entrepreneurs also will get willing to take the schemes and invest in India. I think Atmanirbhar Bharat is our main motto, sir. And these are my points. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Prabodh. Weber, you have any comments on the turnover or the investment criteria?
Yeah, so in this, what I see is, which I think even Prabodh has said, and even the intent I'm looking at, the intent is government is going to give stuff or be behind those companies who are really serious. And serious means then when they have serious money with them. Say, for example, as this scheme, if you see that as this scheme envisages international presence of Indian companies. So we have to understand that scale of operation is important here. When you are going internationally, the scale of operation, definitely you cannot have a very small company just going, and it won't be able to compete. You require a certain size of a company, a little bit of a serious player to make him more serious around, by going global. The impetus, this scale would bring in more technology, innovation, and professional management, because that is what is important when you go outside of India. I'm not saying it is not happening in India, but when you go outside of India, it is more prominent, more focused. Prerequisite for international presence, as I say. All these will lead to the growth of contract or integrated farming, as was told by Prabodh in this Pradhan Mantri part, and the steady supply of raw material, etc. Please remember that we are trying to create an international brand. So these are things why we are doing. The objective of this entire scheme is to take, one is an Atmanirbhar part, and the second is to take India internationally. Okay, take Indian brands internationally. So for that, you will have to have or identify a serious players who can really withstand the pressures of the international market. That's how it's very important from my point of view. I can give you an example, like, mozzarella cheese is one of the area identified in the scheme. It's so important. The big players like Amul, are really well placed to, the Indian company is very well placed to take this opportunity to go internationally with this scheme.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dr. Prabodh, you wanted to.
Sir, just wanted to give one more aspect of the scheme, and I think Shubham sir is actually eager to say something. But before Shubham sir says, sir, if you see this lockdown and the China market, the dynamics, which I was giving some number, 96,000 crore is the export of the China in the food processing area, and most of the article of the food which they export is the same thing which actually we are given in the scheme. India is exporting worth of 16,000 crore, 16 or 18,000 crore. If we consider 83 countries which they are planning to ban the China import to their countries because of this pandemic and whatever is the dynamics internationally happening already, then we can consider in 21, 22, 22, 23, 2 years, even 50% of the China export, which was supposed to be shifted to the other countries. So that 50% is equal to 45,000 crore, and that from 50,000 crore, if India gain 50% of that share, because maximum share should come to India. So who are our competitor? Bangladesh, Vietnam, then Pakistan, and some Asian countries, because these are the one who are the hub for manufacturing. I think this scheme is targeting those, and this actually the article of the food is also those which were in the international market, and is rightly said that we wanted to be the world class in manufacturing for the article of the food which are for not only India, for abroad, and that's why the Also, the third part of this scheme is the marketing. So it is interlinked, manufacturing, process, and marketing. So it is a very well thought scheme. And we all people, rather than looking at only whether I am eligible or not, we should participate and promote. And when there are some issues here and there on the actually turnover, I think I agree with Shubham sir. We should see the intent of the company, understanding of the company, rather than only looking at the number. ये कोई qualification 35% and 75% mark वाला नहीं है. ये serious player है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत वाला है.
Absolutely.
So I think everybody should be given. We should go with the intent, not with the red tapeism numbers. कि आपका number qualify नहीं. I think once everything application has been submitted, we should call the interested parties in person. And जैसे एडमिशन के लिए आपका एक पर्सनल इंटरव्यू भी होता है अबाउट द मार्क्स, there should be a promoter's interview and the managing director, whoever. Really, are you interested? Are you going to 100 crore? Have you invested 100 crore here? I think we should see that rather than qualifying is like on the only the fixed criteria of 100 or investment on this. So this is my take, because I personally see there is a big picture to it rather than these are not the stop gaps for the short term, because this is a long term, though it is a 2 years. So I consider it's a very positive participation, and if people are interested, the ministry is anyway, money has to be dispersed. It is not supposed to get targeted to the other part.
Absolutely. Very, very interesting thought for sort of a takeaway to Mr. Dongre, that, you know, the scheme should be far more flexible, and what we need to look at is intent while there are criteria. Clearly, you know, one of the ways to sort of look at it is not be rigid with those criteria. And if there is a player who is really keen, interested, and has an intent to sort of, you know, promote brand India, it should be sort of promoted. In fact, you know, when we talk about brand India, a related question comes is around India brand. You know, we've been speaking about brand India, etc. And one question which sort of comes up is, what do you mean by brand India? So if a foreign company is in India, is operating in India for a number of years, is it a subjective question? Like there was a scheme SFIS in the past, and there was a dispute around what is brand India over there, and what was held to say that, you know, Indian companies who go outside of India, that is brand India. Any thoughts, Dr. Dongre, on whether is that something which is likely to be sort of, you know, picked up, or we are talking about a companies who are in India who has satisfied the turnover and therefore they are brand India? Dr. Dongre?
Well, for our company or scheme's sake, I would say that Indian brand are those which are owned by Indian companies and are registered in India. This limited definition we kept for this particular scheme. Indian brand are those are owned by the Indian companies and registered in India. These are the Indian.
So if you're saying that if there is a foreign brand which has been present in India for a number of years, and if it is not owned by Indian company, that would be considered as a negative thing.
Well, here what we are this particular Indian brand, ये कहाँ पर आया हुआ है? To market and abroad, to establish our brand in abroad. So where there will establish our Indian brand only. Now, foreign brand, why should establish, which is already there in global market.
Correct, absolutely. Shubham, you know, you've been talking about applicability of the scheme to MSME, but there is a category which is for marketing expenses. At least, do you think that offers an initiative for the smaller companies to go abroad, you know, try and build a global brand? What is your take on marketing expenses specifically?
So companies like us, right, with sales turnover between 50 to 150 crores, right, and we speak with our peers on a regular basis, right. So for us, when we are selling our products in overseas market, right, we have to allocate minimum of 20% of our turnovers to get feasible traction in the food and beverage sector in those markets. When I talk of overseas market, the US, Russia, and Europe being the prime one. So in the desired timelines, obviously. Now, if you look at the scheme, which envisages, you know, maximum grant of 3% of sales of food products or 50 crores per year, whichever is less, right? I think it's too less an incentive for MSME to make an impact, right? Because, you know, this cap obviously, you know, wouldn't help products, as an incentive to make a seizable impact in those markets when the market is changing so drastically, right? And new players are coming in every now and then, which obviously is a good thing. And we are, chartering our way across those waters, and we are growing, right? But 3% of sales of food products, it's too less. That's what we believe. I mean, when we are spending 20% of our sales turnover, right, of 100 crores, to garner the market share, feasible market share in those markets, right? Then I think, but yes, if the intent, when we're talking about intent, anything is better than nothing. But yeah, I think you got my intent.
Absolutely.
Very well said, sir.
So, moving on to the next issue on, there is a benefit available to organic products. There is benefit available to innovation. Dr. Dongre, one of the issues have been, and I will come to other participants as well on this. What is organic? What is innovation? Could it lead to any disputes? Could it lead to subjectivity to say that, the ministry has decided what is organic, what is innovative? So how do you deal with it when I would come and say that my product is organic? So, for example, herbal tea. Herbal tea is an organic product, right? It's been in the market for. No, somebody would say that no, it's tea, it's not organic. So, how would you come to that conclusion that whether the product is innovative, whether the product is organic?
So we'll discuss one by one. Even if I say that if my product is organic, if I'm claiming on my label that my product is organic, then I'll have to have some certification like National Organic Production NPOP from APETA. When we say that you'll have to have that organic certification, then only your product will be eligible under this particular scheme. For example, innovative products or that definition we already given or clarification we already given in FAQ also. Any innovative product, anything, whatever. See, the basic what our ultimate objective is that our own Indian brand, our own traditional products, they were more healthy products rather than other products. So we wanted to promote all those products in an innovative way that which require innovative packaging or that require some innovative processing to place our Indian or our traditional Indian products in the global market. For that purpose, if somebody is coming up with certain processing line or certain product development, so that will be considered under innovative products. There is no specific definition of innovative product. It is subject to examination by our technical committee that that product is already means actually innovative or already that product is in market since long. So that is subject to deliberation and examination by the technical committee of ministry.
Thank you, Dr. Dongre. Here, I would just for a minute invite my colleague Raj, being a legal professional advising on taxes.
Sir, just with your permission, I just want to add what Dr. Jitendra Dongre, the same question what you have asked him. I will try to give the perspective from as being a food technologist. It is good that Ministry of Food Processing has not defined innovation. It is good that Ministry of Food Processing has kept it open. Why it is good, sir? Because the intent is positive. Innovation definition is about what innovation suitable for the consumer. And if they would have put some kind of number to the innovation or some kind of other criteria, then SMEs would not have applied, sir. I think this is the positive aspect of the ministry. And definitely number of SMEs, and again there is no any criteria, the budget allocation also. I think their intent is to give. And when SMEs definition, the minimum turnover is 1 CR, so the requirement also would not be the big. I think in that category, you would see that maximum beneficiaries will come. So let the innovation get decided by the applicant, and they have to prove that how it is innovative. And let me tell you, it is innovation. It is not an invention. It is innovation. Innovation is any incremental thing. Any incremental thing to the utility for the consumer or for benefit of the society or whatever. Any health, anything, sir. We have seen. Let me tell you, in this pandemic, after the World War II and World War I, so many patents has got applied and so many innovations has happened in all the sectors, including food processing. I see that actually this pandemic is also the opportunity for a number of innovations. Number of products which got launched in these pandemics are humongous, sir, in the food processing. The total investment in R&D has doubled up because every company has to change their formulation and bring some innovation. So SMEs also are no change. So it is a very good thing, and rather I'm only talking like on behalf of ministry, but because I am working very closely and being a ex-president of Association of Food Scientists and Technologists, I'm so thankful. At least हमने कुछ सोचा है सर innovation के लिए, and open ही रखो सर वो, because every situation is different, sir. What will happen in the south will not be applicable to the north. What will happen in the, if they receive some application from the actually Jammu and Kashmir, innovation there in their perspective would be different, sir. We cannot have a pan-India one innovation criteria because urban versus rural. So many parameters will be there, and I think this ministry will definitely consider those factors, and they will release those aid and supports for the people who are actually doing incremental innovation or in the innovation process. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely right, Prabodh. The challenge is, as lawyers, we are always, attuned to the fact that if something is not defined, it is open to a challenge. So hopefully we should not see a scenario where somebody comes and starts challenging that how have you granted the benefit to A and not granted to B. So that's
Yes,
the risk that we always sort of.
रितेश जी, ये स्कीम ऐसी नहीं है कि पहले रूल डिफाइन कर दिए और आप पार्टिसिपेट करो, we will not come to you. I think the whole example of Jitendra ji sitting with us, it means it is a participative scheme. You remember earlier scheme used to be on paper and then you used to apply and then what will come is a black box. ऐसा नहीं है. It's all about participative. जितना जितेंद्र डोंगरे जी को पता है उतना ही हमें पता है. And I think they are also exploring and they are also changing. So I think it is a together. And I congratulate actually Ritesh ji, आपका भी तो Dhruv, actually you are also one of the spokesperson and you are also equally like what actually they know. So this is the first time I'm seeing so much of participation within all the stakeholders. And we should make this scheme popular and possible. And so next year, more than 20,000 crore money should come to the Ministry of Food Processing once we are successful.
Yeah, Shubham, your take on this? Any comments from your side?
So on the innovation part, I believe you are better legal experts and policy framers, and you would understand from a policy perspective. Yes, everyone would need a definition for that from a policy perspective, right? But as far as the open nature of innovation, which Dr. Halde mentioned, and he suggested that it's good that we haven't defined innovation, at least over here in this scheme. Yes, it would foster more innovation by being dependent on a panel. I mean, the innovation which might have happened in Sweden, if we are bringing that to in India, right, and this has not been implemented over here, which obviously would be an innovative product for the domestic consumers, right? So yes, I mean, on a case-to-case basis, being dependent on the judgment of this panel, right? I think it would be a better way for people in India to implement those products. As far as taking those products in overseas market and calling that as an innovative product without being defined, I mean, I don't know, because whenever we take an Indian product to the overseas market, right? Right from our distributors to our channel partners to our consumers, right? They put a volume of questions, right? And they need validation and verification, all of those substantiation for that, right? So I don't know, but yes, from the Indian context, it will obviously bring in more entries, more ideas, more projects on board, right? Which might, make the scheme more open in nature, which I think is the overall intent of this scheme.
Absolutely right. Vaibhav, your quick take on innovation and organic products.
Yeah, I think I heard all the players, and I think yes, there has to be impetus given by the government, and what government, it has to be an interactive discussion between the government and the industry. In this case, I think this scheme provides that platform. It's not like, it's not a paper pusher scheme. And I think that entire discussion between the government and between the ministry and the industry on the innovation front on a continuous basis, I think it is if the scheme lives to that expectations, I think we should really think about making it a success on that front.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my last and final question to Dr. Dongre, which this question is coming up again and again, is there a possibility that the last date is likely to get extended? So, as you are aware that no last date is always sufficient and you always want an extension. So what is the possibility of this getting pushed, and also considering pandemic where, it is becoming challenging for preparing those applications, etc.
See, since last 10 years, we are implementing various schemes in the ministry, and it is always a practice over there. So till last date, we just check it out, we examine how many applicants are there, how many applications submitted. If there are less applications, if we feel that we have to extend, then definitely it will be extended. Then if there are already sufficient application, if we could see there, then there will not be chance for any extension. But yeah, if the response of applications is less, then definitely there will be the extension.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with this, what we'll do is we'll just take on some. So I have some questions from in the Q&A. We'll just quickly pick up those questions, some of which probably could have got answered while during the discussion. So one question is from Mr. Kamal Kanodia. Just to put a rider, he's not my relative. If the total turnover exceeds 500 crore, and out of that RTE segment sales is less than 500 crore, say 400 crore, whether the company would be still eligible. I heard some comment from Dr. Prabodh that we should look at the total turnover and we should not look at only the specified category of products. But Dr. Dongre, what is your thought on
Sir, for the eligibility criteria, just for application eligibility, they have to consider turnover of the total food products, not the eligible segment. Total food products will be considered as turnover. And for the marking evaluation at only that particular segment, revenue of particular segment will be considered for the marking and other things. But for eligibility criteria, total food products will be considered. Revenue of the total food products.
Understand.
Dr. Dongre, please consider this total food product as defined in FSSAI, because you were earlier in FSSAI. So don't exclude anything which is the definition of food as given in FSSAI. Because sir, food is food. Definition of food is given in the FSSAI. So what actually part of the FSSAI you consider that, sir? That is a simple request. Thank you, sir.
There is another interesting question. Yeah, with Abhishek Daruka he's saying we are exporting biscuits under brand of X, a company registered in the name of ABC LLP. And however, we are not exporting any biscuits under brand Y, which is registered in India. And further, we'll not be able to sell brand Y goods. So I know that in terms of the provisions, there is a definition of subsidiary. However, when the production and the sale are under two, so the foreign company is actually manufacturing and selling, whereas the brand is registered separately in India, which is not getting the products are not getting sold outside on that particular brand name. How do you see this as? Would you consider that it is a subsidiary? Ultimate consolidation happens at an India level, so therefore that should be considered.
Well, I would say the X and Y, and I'm not understood properly. I'll equate to that one.
Sure. So we'll revert separately. So with this, we are nearing our closing time. So I would just request, any last moment comments, Dr. Dongre. You heard. I'll come to you, Dr. Dongre. Dr. Prabhat. Mr. Dongre, any last moment comments on the scheme from your perspective? Any thoughts?
Well, I would say that whatever the scheme we have formulated, it is a well thought of scheme. Already Prabodhji and Vaibhavji has explained in a proper manner, because we have done all due diligence. We have formulated scheme with a due consultation with industry only. So now we wanted that 10,900 crore what we have government of India allocated for this particular scheme. The whole money should go to the industry. Either it is for category 1, category 2 or category 3. So I would request all the industry players, whoever is considering that they will be eligible or they are eligible, or if they are not eligible, somewhere, if not in category 1, they should apply at least for the branding and marketing of their products. At least that is open for everybody.
Absolutely.
If they think that they have some good organic product, the potential of good processing of good organic products or innovative products, so they should submit their application. January 13th is 17 is the last date. So try to submit your application as early as possible so that we'll get enough time to evaluate your application and sanction, give you the approval. Because in this all complete process, whatever the 10,900 crore we got, it is not for 1 year, it is for the 6 years. Today, if we select one company, we'll give incentive for 6 years to that company on its incremental sale on each and every year.
Very good.
So that has to be kept in mind and apply it as a tap the opportunities before that lifetime of the, what we say, not in our lifetime, we should tap the opportunity within the lifetime of an opportunity. So please apply as early as possible. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Mr. Dongre. There is no downside in making the application, whether then you qualify or not. Clearly, is one of the questions which would be considered. Yeah, Dr. Prabodh, you wanted to make your
no, I think I congratulate actually the ASSOCHAM and then particularly Ritesh, you handled the panel so well. I just want to thanks to the organizer. And my one more submission is to that we have actually 3 parts to the scheme. If we can do some consultation and also the dissemination of this information, because 17th June is now we are very close, only some more than 12 days are left, 13 days. If we can do chapter wise and the scheme wise, basically the SMEs or the export. So if we can organize 1 or 2 webinars and wherein we can invite somebody expert, and I think the opening, actually the understanding about the scheme was so clear. I think we will able to make it, and we should put a sale. We should put a sale within our actually association to help them to submit. So if they have any difficulties in submission, so rather than this, actually applicants are going pillar to post, particularly SME sector, they do not know how to apply. I think we should extend that support to the SME sector. So then only this particular, though the 500 applications have gone, but we don't know how the correctness of the application is. At least the application which will go from ASSOCHAM will definitely see the light of at least the scrutiny. So my request is that we can help the application through the association secretariat if we can get the support, and that will be great too for the service to the industry, sir.
So Naid, you are on the call and you're hearing all of this. Vaibhav, your comments, Mr. Kulkarni, on your thoughts, closing remarks.
See, I feel overall when I read through this guidelines and when I heard a lot of presenters talking as well as the presentations were made, I think the overall, if I see the scheme looks good, that is most important. So the product is good, the scheme is good, and if it requires, nothing is casting stone, nothing is permanent, as Dr. Dongre also would agree. As we go on, as we experience some turbulence or some issues, that can be discussed with the government and can be improved upon. We cannot call this as a final one, but we can amend it for good. If at all, anywhere somebody is getting stuck in the scheme, as you know, it's a rightly put forth by even Prabodh like helping the SMEs to fill in those forms. See, there's a possibility that out of 500 forms, people might not have, there will be forms which may not be filled not because their intention is wrong. They might not have filled it properly because they don't know how to fill it. And which section to be filled, what needs to be communicated. So that part is also need to be looked into. But overall, if you ask me my point, when I read this guideline, it is fantastic to start with. And I think I congratulate the government. I congratulate Dr. Dongre. I know I was not a part of this thing because we are part of multinational, so that's fine. But anyway, anywhere, Dr. Dongre, if you require help from our end, please let us know, and we will be willing to help you out. And thanks, Ritesh, for conducting this very well, this webinar. this
Thank
this
you.
entire panel discussion.
Shubham, your last comments on the scheme. I know you've been talking about investment criteria, etc. But overall, do you believe it's a good scheme? What is your final last take on last comment?
So I would give two comments to it, right? As a business owner, right? What my thinking process is, and then as on behalf of the people whom I represent, which is the startup, guys in the industry, right? SMEs and all people like us, right? Because we keep on discussing what is required and what can be done, right? So as an entrepreneur, as a person who is running a business, I believe that my first priority should be to generate money out of my business, right? Not to be dependent upon any schemes or things like that. They should be used as a facilitator in case of what I personally believe, right, is that all these schemes should help either the most deprived sections of the businesses, right, or the sections which have been which are going into insolvency or things like that, right? But that's my personal opinion. On the scheme perspective, right, it's a great scheme, right? I've gone into specifics. People who fall in that category, they have a great opportunity to go out in those markets and build a brand out of it, right? Use those resources which the government is providing, right? It's an initiative with a good intent, great intent, and it is in line with all the objectives which our great PM has been putting forward, which I completely support, right? A couple of changes here and there would have, since government puts a lot of emphasis on MSMEs, right? Because, big players, they are going to be in the market, right? No doubt about that. MSMEs, they are going to create new markets, right? They're going to create new products because if they have to survive in the market, they'll either create new markets or they'll create new products, right? So, government should be doing something to facilitate, these people, support them. They don't need the money part, right? Majority of them, they don't need the money. They need, better frameworks. They need better systems so that they can do their business, right? Schemes like these, yes, obviously they do lend a helping hand, to companies in my space, MSME sector, right? And but yes, I mean, like Dr. Vaibhav Kulkarni said, right? It's not a casting stone. We'll keep on improving upon it, and hopefully we do. And at the end of the day, we should come out as winners, both the government and the industry folks and the Indian businesses as a whole. And we'll make it. We'll get it done. Yeah.
Absolutely right, Shubham. This is not cast in stone, and we will evolve as the scheme progresses. I'm sure there will be further future more schemes where the government would consider all the aspects that are being discussed currently. My final question to you, Kulraj, you've been involved in this scheme for quite some time. You've been looking at the guidelines and provisions. You heard the discussion around flexibility, around that we have to be. It's not cast in stone. What is your final take on this? Do you think that there would be people should come and submit the applications and leave it to the government to decide whether, even though I do not meet the criteria, etc., I am somebody who is very serious, the intent is serious, and you should consider the application. What would be your final take on this?
Yeah, Ritesh, I absolutely kind of second your take that let the government, let the industry be allowed to fill the application. The seriousness can be gauged not only from the turnover, but from other factors as well. There could be companies who may not meet the turnover, but they would be willing to make significant investments. So government should be open to those ideas, should be open to the thoughts, and it's an evolving scheme. So let the industry be made a participant to it, and then a final decision could be taken at a later date. But let the participations be there so that the industry as a whole is happy about the things that government is listening to them. So I kind of urge Mr. Dongre that allow the participations to happen. The people who are not kind of eligible, they are looking for this window. They may be eligible in this category. They may have their limitation of threshold, but making the investment. Let us allow the applicants to be there, their credibility be judged on other factors, the seriousness to be judged on other factors. So if they meet the criteria, the request would be that those participants should be allowed to be a successful applicant to the scheme.
Thank you, Kulraj. I think this has been a very interesting session. Thank you everyone for complete participation. be completely open to your thoughts, ideas on what this scheme should be. I'm sure it will give a lot of thought process within the government to, when they formulate a new scheme, there are a lot of points that needs to be considered. Another is also that if you have any suggestions, recommendation, please send it to ASSOCHAM. We'll try and quickly prepare a memorandum to be submitted to the government basis the discussion that we have today. Only request is that since the timeline is very small, if you can send your suggestion recommendations by tomorrow, and we can then submit it to the government. Thank you everyone for your participation.
Thank you, sir.
We'll be circulating the
Thank you,
presentation to
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It
Thank
was
you,
wonderful.
everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra Dongri ji.
Okay.
Fantastic delivery, sir. And good. Thank you, Vaibhav ji. Thank you, Ritesh ji.
Thank you, Prabhat.
Thank you, Shubham ji. Thank you, Purval sir.
Thank you.
Do you share the presentation, sir? What
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
we
actually...
will be circulating the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
ऑफिस वेब पे चलेगा और नाउ इसके बाद जो है ना वो होगा